found several ways to basically finesse money from the government one way or the other, whether it's through food stamps, whether it's through housing, but in particular, these businesses, a lot, and that's what's interesting about this us as Americans, that a lot of us do not know about all these different things that you can get into where you can be an entrepreneur, and even if it's not all the money in the world, you can still make some good money for yourself, and there's no, as long as you do things right, you can always have this hustle. Even if you have as a part-time, you can have a full-time job and run you one of these businesses. So people don't know that daycares are, for the most part, partnerships with the state. So the state usually has some kind of subsidy where they pay a part of whatever the cost is for the daycare, and the parents will pay their portion. A lot of daycares receive a lot of their money from that, that style, unless you're in a more of like a richer like neighborhood and whatnot. That'll be a situation where the people probably will have the money to pay for the daycare themselves, right? So this is an issue because these are daycares where they are billing the state for. Now, mind you, these records are public. You can pull it. You can pull this up, so you can get access to how much did this agency, this LLC, bill the state. Now, mind you, someone has to actually audit and physically audit these agencies or these entities in order to know what's going on. So, being as though I was a provider before, I know how these things go. Right, so being a provider, basically, I administer a service, and then I can bill for that service, and then my agency gets paid. But I have to also make sure that I have proof that these services were done, and so on and so forth, right? And also, you are made aware that you could be audited at any given time, where they will come and just request, all right, boom, you made this claim on this day. We need the call logs and whatnot from that day, which is a very easy thing to produce, right? So what these people have done is, in so many words, they create situations where I guess they have artificial customers. These are not real customers. So I had no idea that they were doing this with not just the daycares, because the scandal with the daycares was that you're billing for all these kids who are supposed to be here, and these are empty daycares where no one's there. Not only that, there's the Somalian Muslim lady answering the door. This shit is crazy. But matter of fact, let's go ahead and go a little further back. Shout out to the content creator. He don't need my help. He got 1.6 million subscribers. But this is Cash Jordan, and I never heard this guy before today, which is very inspiring because that means that I could do it too. But let's go ahead and check him out. And yeah, man, let's get to it. Matter of fact, we're gonna play this whole thing through.
COVID-19 pandemic.
So the fraud situation in Minnesota, it keeps growing every single day. And although 7,000 people were just caught stealing money via 2020 loans, we're also learning about a shady network of home care facilities that may have been created specifically to allow fraudsters even more access to Uncle Sam's piggy bank. And as you're about to see, these sites, they're not just located in Minnesota. No, they're everywhere in America.
Here in Minnesota, blatant fraud is taking place. Right here, you see a daycare center. It says it's Creative Minds Daycare. Creative Minds Daycare was actually shut down. It was reopened the next day underneath the name Super Kids. This daycare alone has received $2.45 million.
This may look like your typical single-family home, but it bills itself as an assisted living facility. It's owned by a man indicted for laundering $1 million. His wife runs the assisted living facilities, and the state is continuing to pay as he awaits his trial.
In total, these borrowers were approved for 7,900 people.
Are y'all watching the video, right? In the video, this is these people's social media. They on social media flexing, living their best life. They not trying to hide it. Why? Because they think you soft. They feel like it's a lick. And you know what? I'm going to keep saying it. I don't blame them for thinking that. Americans have this thing where they think that everywhere in the world is like here. Everything goes the way that things go here, the way people talk here, the way the women act here, the way the men act here. They think that around the world it's the same. No, we are the most civilized. Okay, we are at the height of civilization. But even in America, right, the poorer the neighborhood, the lower the standard for everything. The lower the standard for food, the lower the standard for clothes, for just how you live life, what you do with your time, right? Even when you're in a suburb, most kids don't go to school and come home. Most kids have at least one activity that they go to. One activity. That's their parents investing in them, because a person's experiences really helps to build them up as a person. You feel me? But anyway, let's go. Let's keep going to it.
PPP and EIDL loans worth approximately $400 million.
We're taking fraud seriously. We're working every day to improve our systems. That's why it's incredibly frustrating to me that Donald Trump...
So it says, so there are 80 kids in there. This is what I guess this guy's name is Jay. The daycare operator says, no, not now. So you have content creators who have actually taken time to do their own investigations, right? And if not for these content creators, and so Mike Shirley just went viral for his work over there in Minnesota, where he physically visited several daycare sites. Sorry, where he physically visited several daycare sites, right, and found the same thing over and over again, that there were no kids at those sites when he showed up there. Okay, and you don't see them saying, "Oh no, we're actually closed. This is winter break." Because some people try to say that it was winter break. Fam, there's no footprints. There was no sign that there was even some kids there. All right, and one of the places they went to, which was the craziest shit ever, and which is also just a sign that they think you soft. Okay, there was a daycare that said quality learning center instead of learning center. The sign always been wrong. One would think that as soon as you seen the sign, you would say, hey, we can't put that up there. These niggas say, you know what? We want you to see it. And you had to sign your crime. Not a guy's guy.
A guy's guy.
Huh?
A guy's guy. Yeah, Guy Lafleur.
Guy Lafleur, nigga.
Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri.
And Republicans want to use this as a political vehicle to cut funding entirely to our state.
These assisted living facilities received over $2.3 million in state money last year alone. A Minnesota Reformer article says he has been paid a whopping $49 million since 2016.
So, when American...
So, just to put that in perspective for you, so he's not saying that that's the total of fun store. No. That could be the total for how much that house makes. So assisted living homes, or just group homes in general, can make a lot of money. So with the population for disabled adults, right? As in they might be mentally challenged, have autism. They may developmental challenges and whatnot, right? Or also coupled with physical challenges and everything, right? If they're approved for Medicaid, they have access to funds that will allow them to have a spot in a group home, right? So it is like a regular house, just that there's usually 24-hour staff where there's always someone there to kind of be running the group home, preparing meals and assisting the customers wherever they need, right? So they also have this for seniors as well, and they have it for people who fall under, how can I say, people who have mental illness. A lot of times what will happen is they'll be able to get SSI money, and they can get into a group home where it could be a person who has like a multifamily, or a person who has to where they have multiple rooms, and you can get into one of these rooms, right? And you pay 30% of whatever you get from Social Security, and then the state will pay the other part of the rent. Right, so there's a lot of different ways that you can make some good money. Now, there's ups and downs, but there's so many different ways to get it. All right, so that's a new hustle unlock for y'all. So a lot of people don't even take advantage of this in particular. But anywho, I said to say this: if you can get one of those houses to run smoothly, right, especially if it's the ones where you have access to people's budgets and whatnot. I used to know a guy, his level of need was so high that his group home got paid over 6 figures to house him because his level of need was that high. All right, so there's a lot of money out there. So these people have come to this country and figured out this hustle, and not only that, figured out the loopholes to the point where we don't know how long they've been collecting this money. You understand?
We're struggling in 2020. Fraudsters in Minnesota, they stole a cool $400 million. And this scam, which the president says is now up to $18 billion, has gotten larger and larger, thanks in part to programs designed to be defrauded, which are full of little businesses with names that sound super legitimate. For example, the Feeding Our Future scam, which was supposed to make sure kids never went hungry, got ripped off. Then on top of that, we've got Minnesota's armada of fake daycare centers that have 0 children inside. And now,
Yo, them pulling up on a Muslim lady made the John look, oh man, look hella suspicious, man. I don't know what they did. Whatever they saying they did that ish.
now we have single-family homes that are somehow registered as assisted living facilities and care centers so they can get government money too, which sure sounds helpful and allows more people than ever to get care in the way that they might want to choose to get it. But the reality is this program is just another socialist ripoff of our entire country. And it's not just Minnesota where this is happening. The home care scam is growing and infesting other states where alleged fraudsters are getting their private residences listed as care sites while receiving a host of other federal benefits and payments as well. Money which is then spent on the very politicians who advocate for this stuff, which reveals why one political party in this country is very much in favor of rolling this out every chance they get.
Not only when we make pre-K truly universal, but expand this care to include all 2- and 3-year-olds across the city. As the governor said, we will deliver.
And don't get me wrong, I have a child myself. I would like to have more kids in the future. That is an issue that a lot of us worry about, right? But again, we got to be adults at some point and ask questions about, hey, that sounds really cool, but where would that money come from and how would that get done? This is one of the consequences of mixing male and female spaces, right? Because the more that women have a say and have a voice, I'm not saying it's a bad voice, but when women are problem solving, again, they don't really problem solve in their mind. The reason why it sounds good to them is because they're not thinking about how would that happen? How would you go about making that actually happen in a way where you can tell me from step 1 to the last step? How would that go? Women aren't really good at that part. Women are good at kind of being in the moment and whatever the feeling is. Because when you hear that shit, it's like, oh my God, because you know how it feels to have to pay for daycare and come out your pocket. So it feels great when someone says, hey, put your purse away. Matter of fact, I think that's a good point too. Women always feel good at anything that says put your purse away. But here's the thing though. That's one of the flaws that you see anytime when females are in leadership or have an impact on leadership is that you're not thinking about how this shit actually works. Every man witnesses this, right? And this right here it's not helpful because you can't do any of this stuff. You're going to extend daycare to 2- and 3-year-olds. So basically, don't get me wrong, it sounds good. I understand. People need daycares, right? People need daycare, but how are you going to provide free daycare to all these people? Anyway, these are the kind of things that, and you also got to realize that when people make these kind of promises, what it does to you is shut off the ambition in your brain. What it does to you is it makes you stop working. It makes you stop thinking. When someone says, hey, now listen, don't make better choices. That's another thing too. He's also saying, don't make better choices. Daddy gonna handle it. And the reality is this, none of that shit is gonna happen. None of it. Because everything costs. Nothing is free. All right, man, I wanted to show this video I saw a few minutes ago. And I'm also going to get into Jasmine Crockett. Pause. Where is that John at, man? I wanted to see. Is it right here? Because this dude was reading.
2 counts of homicide.
There we go. Boom.
All right, thanks, Matt. What's happened is unacceptable, and what they're obstructing, because ISIS released some of the people that they have arrested that they claim to be watching these protesters. So someone was convicted of homicide.
So what they're getting into is basically the kind of people who are getting caught in these raids. And what people don't understand is that, listen, the country runs so efficiently that a lot of y'all don't have to deal with terrible people. You have to deal with people who are murderers, people who will do the most heinous things. But you got to realize too that they're from a different place than you. Also, they're here illegally. Like they're it's just a crime for them to be here. We have a whole system and a bunch of steps you got to go through, and mad laws around immigration, how to properly come to the country, how to check in, how to go about working in the country, all these different things. This person is saying, listen, I don't give a fuck. All right. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere, right? And I dare you to do anything about it. Because also, not only that, they know that, yo, no one's going to enforce this shit. But I don't know what it is, but America has always had this thing about treating themselves as like you're everyone. I don't know how to put it, but basically, we have this thing about never thinking about, all right, what we're giving and what we're getting out of it as a country, right? So even when it comes to immigration and all these different things, the only thing these people really care about is that, all right, well, I hate conservatives and people on the right so much that because they say this is a problem, I'm going to disagree. We have to really start understanding that, yo, we have lost the ability to take shit seriously. We've lost the ability to really think long term. We lost the ability to act in a way that says, I'm invested in the future. I mean, at least do it for the kids, man. Because in other parts of the world, they're not going to let you come there and jeopardize anything. So anyway, Beloved is getting ready to run down and run through the charges of the kind of people that they're catching in these raids, all right?
A Burmese national, they got arrested by ICE. A Guatemalan illegal alien in the country, wanted for homicide, already committed homicide, was arrested. Attempted homicide from someone from Sudan. A Somalian convicted of manslaughter. A Mexican illegal convicted of homicide. 2 counts of homicide, Sierra Leone. 2 conviction of homicide, alliteration. And Sudan national convicted of homicide, rape against a child. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And these guys that are in the middle of the street, including, tragically, the woman that lost her life the other day because she tried to ram an officer, are all preventing ICE from doing their job, arresting those people.
So they're protecting those criminals
100%.
instead of protecting the law enforcement who's out there trying to make Minnesota safer. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she announced an updated restriction on the congressional visits to these ICE detention facilities because she says when these lawmakers go in unannounced, it creates unsafe conditions for the lawmakers and for the ICE agents.
And that's going to bring us into our next point. But she makes a really good point about, now don't get me wrong, we don't know if the stats that he read off are all from one raid or multiple raids and whatnot, right? But the point is this. These are people that they're taking off the street and then come to find out after further investigation that they've done these serious crimes. These are the kind of people that don't need to be in the country. I'm not saying they're all doing that. They're all doing things of that nature. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, like we have to be more realistic and have to practice more self-preservation. Like as a whole, we're not really doing much to make sure that this is a better place when we're not here no more. And it's gotten to a point where we have more technology, but we are not better people. We do not have better morals. Like we got to where we've gone into a state of just overcorrection, and more. And this always kind of makes me a little bit sad. And I've heard this a few different times about how America couldn't get any better than it was in the 90s, in the early 90s. We had almost all the technology that we needed. There was just enough technology, right? And everything was everything was perfect. And then after that, the country just went to shit. You know what I mean? And a part of that is that, yo, No rules. One of the reasons why I've gotten so far in my content was because I set a bunch of rules for myself. I was able to say, you know what, bro, in order for you to get to this point, you're gonna have to do this. In order for you to to record your content, you need this, you need that. And for it to have to look at the needs, you need this, you need that. If I'm not able to do self correction and give myself rules, I can't accomplish nothing. But anywho, so the next point we're gonna get into is I feel like to a certain degree, I think people need to really look at what lawmakers and people in government, how they treat the situation with Renee Good, the lady who passed away last week in that shooting in in Minnesota, Minneapolis, right? And it's been debate about whether or not uh, the fatal fire was necessary, right? Whether or not she was just trying to flee, and because the argument is whether or not she was going to hit the police officer. And the reality is that's a very strong possibility. Okay, this person was stalking. There are a series of entities who actually are stalking and following around ICE agents and basically trying to do things to disrupt and basically obstruct the investigation, which is a crime. That's a crime. You cannot obstruct an investigation. You can, if a cop pulls you over and asks makes any command towards you, if you do not do it, that will be obstruction. If you resist producing certain documents or just basically cooperate, that is obstruction of justice. You basically trying to stop them from doing their job. Like, again, this shit is the same as seeing DEA agents outside and just getting all up in the mix, just all up in the bando. You understand? So fuck, I gotta see you use that gun. I'm just saying, bro.
Tonight, I want to see you use that gun.
So what I've noticed is that I'm like, damn, the lawmakers are now no more different than the content creators. So Ilham Omar, I hope I'm saying her name correctly, she went viral recently because she went down to the ICE facility to visit the ICE facility, right? So when she did that, she was turned away because you can't randomly show up. This is not. It's not Ray doing the bid. This is an active investigation. They're still figuring shit out. What are you looking to accomplish there? And the reason why I think it's disturbing to me is because you're not coming there to actually help anyone or support anyone. Not only that, this entity, this detention center exists solely for people who do not belong in the country. So you're because when you undermine this shit, you're basically saying that our whole process, all the pride, all the hard work that comes from what people sacrifice and go through to become citizens, and the pride they get from earning the citizenship, you just saying fuck those people. You just saying whatever. Listen, Muhammad, you know what I mean, and Lil Hector, they just even though they came here on the boat, even though they snuck into the woods, they deserve to be here. They had no.
And she said they're all trying to get in these detention centers. It's a circus-like publicity stunt rather than legitimate oversight. So lawmakers now, if they want to go into one of the ICE facilities, they have the right to do that. They just have to notify a week in advance, 7 days in advance. And on Saturday, there were 3 House Democrats, including Ilhan Omar and Angie Craig and Kelly Morrison, who are Democrats from Minnesota. They were denied entry into a facility in Minnesota. And this is what Ilhan Omar said.
When people are disappeared in the darkness, American democracy dies.
Congresswoman,
and it is really important for every single person in this country to understand that they are not only disappearing people who have committed crimes, who are in this country undocumented. They are disappearing you as citizens.
Of course, all that, those are just lies, and Ilhan Omar and other politicians who have fomented all of this and encouraged people to go out and get involved and disrupt these ICE actions, I would argue have blood on their hands. This is, these agents they're not there because they feel like it or because They want to be there. They're there because they have a constitutional responsibility to enforce the law. That is why they are there. And if Ilhan Omar has a problem with the laws, she can go and change the laws. Lawrence, you spoke earlier with former Senator Kirsten Sinema.
So what we gotta realize is this, like, yo, this can't be allowed to rock. Like you can't go against law enforcement. And now it'd be one thing if like she was providing y'all with some kind of proof. She didn't name any names. When people don't give you specifics, always listen to when people don't give you, especially when they're citing a really serious thing. When they don't get specific about what they're talking about, and because I hate to be the person who says so and so was lying, but that's some bullshit. I have not heard one story, no personal account of someone who's a citizen who had a, I don't know, a relative or a loved one who got locked up by ICE unless you were protesting in a violent way. That's another thing too. These protests are getting violent, man. And the comment he made about the blood on their hands, I think we need to talk about that a little bit more, because these protests are getting very violent, and this is based off of what these politicians are saying and how they're speaking on the subject. So it's disturbing because, again, and this is one of the ways that social media has changed us forever, and it's changed every job from just being, you can't just be a teacher that's attractive. You have to try to monetize that or turn that into a social media thing, especially for the women. So we've seen women turn to like straight up Barbies, where it's like, all right, I'm congressional Barbie, you know what I'm saying? Which is like Barbie and like 304 can be like interchangeable, because it's, and can I say Barbie because it's like, all right, now, well, I'm the 304 version of a lawyer. I'm the 304 version of a mother. I'm a 304 version of your future wife. I'm the 304 version of a librarian. I'm the 304 version of the construction worker. It's like everything is like, all right, yeah, I work in HR, but I also can dress like a I'm gonna try it again. It's like I work in HR, but I can